Follow the trend, tend to benefit while avoiding harm. Hello everyone, this is Mr. D. Today, I want to share with you the 12 generals of the month. Before telling you what the 12 generals of the month is, let me introduce to you why we use our birth date to determine our 12 constellations, because their principles are the same. In order to introduce you more intuitively, I will use a software called Stellarium. You can download this software for free from this website. Its role is to observe the laws of motion of the stars from the perspective of the Earth. After downloading and installing the software, open the software and you will see this interface. Hover your mouse at the bottom left of the screen and a toolbar will appear. Click the atmosphere label. The atmosphere of the Earth disappears, and now you can see the stars in the daytime. Click here 3 times to speed up the passage of time. Now you can understand why the ancients, hundreds of years ago, felt that the entire universe revolved around the Earth. Because when you look to the sky inside the Earth, in your eyes, all the stars in the entire universe revolve around the Earth. Click here or press K on the keyboard to return time to its normal elapsed speed. Rolling the mouse wheel can zoom in and out of the observable sky, and dragging the screen with the mouse can adjust the position of the observable sky. Let's adjust the screen to look more sky so that we can better observe the constellations. Active these 3 labels in the lower left corner: constellation lines, constellation labels, constellation art. Then you will see the stars in the sky are combined into various patterns. Some of these patterns are what we often call the 12 constellations. This position is the Aries, this position is the Taurus, this position is the Gemini, this position is the Cancer. Why do people born between April 20th and May 20th belong to Taurus, and those born between May 21st and June 21st belong to Gemini? Please take a closer look at the next simulation demonstration. First of all, the time in the software must be during the day, because only during the day you can find the sun. Click on the sun with the mouse. 4 red lines will appear around the sun. This is to make it easier for us to find the position of the sun in the following time. Next, speed up the passage of time. The first day passed, and the position of the sun didn't seem to have changed, but actually the position of the sun has changed. The next day passed, the same. The third day passed. It still looked the same. Let's wait a few more days. More than 10 days passed. By comparison, you can see the change in the position of the sun now. Although the sun is still in the area of Taurus, but his position has changed. Next, let's quickly pass time to more than a month later. The position of the sun come to Gemini. Now you know how the ancients judge which constellation each person belongs to. The ancients simply looked at the position of the sun in the sky in which constellation at what time, and then they came to the conclusion that the month belonged to which constellation. Of course, the observation time is when the sun is about to set in the evening, because only at that time the stars and the sun can be faintly seen at the same time. But there is a problem here. I don't know if you noticed it. In this table, we can see that each year from June 22nd to July 22nd belongs to Cancer. But on July 5th, 2021, the position of the Sun is in Gemini. According to the table, that day the position of the Sun should be in Cancer, but this software shows that the Sun is in Gemini. Is the software wrong? The answer is no. We all know that while the Earth revolves around the Sun, the Earth also revolves around an invisible axis of itself. The position of the vertex of this Earth axis will change over time. The change of its position is a circular trajectory, and about 26,000 years as a cycle. When the position of the vertex of the Earth axis changes, the position of the stars relative to the Earth also changes. I will use the software to demonstrate it, and you will understand it immediately. Hover the mouse on the lower right side, and the toolbar will pop up on the right side. Click here. We can directly modify the date. Let's take a look at which constellation the Sun's position will be on July 5th, 2021. On July 5th, 2021, the position of the Sun was in Taurus. Let's take a look at which constellation the Sun's position was on July 5th, 1000. Well, the position of the Sun is finally in Cancer between June 22nd and July 22nd. The clever ancients actually discovered that the relative position of the stars and the Earth would shift over time. How do they solve this problem? First, let's make a little adjustment to the software's setting. Hover the mouse on the bottom right to activate the equatorial grid label. Use the mouse to drag the screen. Look at this position carefully. The ancients took the vertex of the Earth axis as the center and divided the Earth into 24 parts. Each part occupies 15 degrees. In this way, we have divided out 24 areas. Their position relative to us will never change. Then the ancients stipulated that when the Sun moved into which 30 degrees area, which months belong to which constellation. Therefore, we only need to look at the position of the Sun in which 30 degrees area, rather than what constellation it appears to be in. Whether you understand what I said or not, I suggest you download this software and play it for yourself, because it is fun and cool and is free. The ancient people in the West divided the Earth into 24 areas. Each area occupies 15 degrees of the total circumference, and they assigned each 30 degrees area to a specific constellation. When the Sun moves here, this area belongs to Taurus, so this month is the month of Taurus. When the Sun moves here, this area belongs to Gemini, so this month is the month of Gemini. Coincidentally, the ancient Chinese also divided the Earth into 24 parts. Unlike ancient Westerners, the ancient Chinese people concluded the 24 solar terms based on the changes in the Earth's environment and temperature when the Sun alternately appears in these 24 regions. The ancient Chinese planted and harvested crops based on these 24 solar terms. For example, when farmers in ancient China discovered that the Sun moved to the spring equinox, they began to sow wheat seeds in the fields. When they found that the Sun moved to the autumn equinox, they began to harvest wheat. Having said so much, I can finally introduce you to what the 12 generals of the month is. When the ancient Chinese used the Liu Ren divination method to predict the development of an event, they needed to use a symbol to represent the sun, and then judge the development of the event by observing where the symbol representing the sun appeared in the prediction. In the previous video, as an example, I have introduced you to one of the many meanings of the 12 generals of the month. The determination of the 12 generals of the month is similar to what constellation each month belongs to. When the sun moved to one of these areas, the ancient Chinese used a symbol to represent the sun. This table summarizes what symbols the ancients used to represent the 12 generals of the month of that month. The 12 generals of the month are also represented by the 12 terrestrial branches. You can see that in Chinese culture, many things with a total number of 12 are represented by the 12 terrestrial branches. For example, when the sun moves to this area, then the general of the month at this time is Hai and L for short. When the sun moves to this area, then the general of the month at this time is Xu and K for short. You don't need to memorize this knowledge by rote, because when we use the mobile phone app, it will help us figure out which the general of the month on that month. Strictly speaking, the motion of objects is relative. If we regard the Earth as stationary, then the entire universe is indeed revolving around the Earth. More than 2,000 years ago, Eudoxus formally proposed the geocentric theory. 500 years ago, Copernicus proposed the heliocentric theory. But who can guarantee that mankind will not return to the geocentric theory someday in the future? Please be in awe of any theory that cannot be falsified. After all, we cannot even prove whether we really exist. Subscribe. Be your own prophet.